So I talk a lot about psychological stimulation, how important it is, and how it's such a huge determining factor in sexual quality and sexual pleasure. Because if your partner's mind is wandering, if they're not focused on the sex, then whatever you do physically is not going to be as good because they're just not thinking about it and it's just not on their mind. And maybe they're insecure, maybe they're anxious, maybe they don't feel comfortable with you being vulnerable. But all of these things are going to detract from potential sexual quality. But that being said, there is still a really important physical component to sex. Otherwise, the sex wouldn't really exist if there's no bumping and grinding or whatever you want to call it. Then sex, that's not really sex unless there's that physical part. So, what do we do physically during sex? And I'm talking in this video kind of broadly what we do, just kind of the concepts behind it, because I don't want to give you guys specific physical techniques that you need to do, because honestly, everyone is different and different physical techniques are going to work differently on different people. How many times did I say the word different in that sentence? But anyway, you really should be talking to your partner and figuring out what they like physically. It shouldn't be this thing that's just a cookie cutter sexual experience, because not everyone's the same. Everyone's unique in what they like. So that's why I'm going to steer away from giving you guys like what you need to do physically, like technique wise, and kind of go in the big picture of what the goal is with your physical stimulation, what you need to do. So, we're going to start off with foreplay, because why not? Foreplay is your time to build psychological stimulation through your words and through your actions. So physically, what you need to do during foreplay is do what you can to build anticipation. So that means not going in full force right away, giving it your all right away. It means starting subtly with light kisses, light touches on the face, and other things like that. And then building anticipation, kind of escalating as you go. And take your time here. This is your time and your opportunity to build that psychological stimulation, which is far more important. And all we're doing is escalating physical touch, starting subtly, and kind of moving up into more sexual things as we go, spending time on each thing, being patient, and not rushing through it. So what I mean by escalate is if you are kissing first and just touching the face, maybe then you move on to more kind of cliche sexual zones, body parts, and touch those. But then also go back to the old things you were doing and kind of build anticipation, work your way through it, and be patient, spend time on this, because especially if you're a guy doing this for a girl, girls definitely need more time to build arousal than guys do, where guys are just like, yeah, show me some naked bodies and I'm there. Women need way more than that. And so physically what you need to do is, like I said, start small and escalate. When we move on to the sex part now, your main goal, if you're going at it, if you're thrusting away and doing all the full penetration stuff, then your main goal is to go as long as you can without breaking the flow of physical stimulation. That is the most important thing that you can possibly do. If you are taking a lot of pauses, a lot of breaks, and going for 30 seconds, then stopping, and then going for another 30 seconds, then stopping, every time you stop, you are basically resetting the woman in terms of when they are going to possibly reach orgasm or climax or whatever you're going for. So the most important thing you can do physically is just keep that flow of stimulation. Like I said, I'm not going to go into saying exactly what you need to do, because everyone is different, so you kind of need to figure that out on your own by talking to your sexual partner and figuring out what they like or don't like, or just being mindful during the sexual experience as to what is working and what isn't working, which should be pretty obvious as you're going along. But the physical thing, you don't have to do anything that groundbreaking. It's so much more determined on the mental factors, the psychological factors. So don't worry about your performance here. What you should worry about is not taking any breaks and keeping that flow of physical stimulation unbroken for as long as you can. This doesn't mean that you can't change positions during sex. That's actually a good way to build psychological stimulation, is to kind of change positions and go at it from a different angle. But for the most part, you don't want to just have a bunch of pauses. You want to let these positions play out for 5 minutes or so, or just a long enough period of time where there is that ability to kind of build up. If you think about what it takes to reach orgasm, it takes a consistent kind of flow of stimulation kind of in an upward motion, right? Except every time you're taking a break, it's looking like this. You're going up and then you take a break and it drops off again, and then you have to kind of keep going again, and then it drops off again if you take another break. So what we need to do is just kind of keep that steady increase until we hit the maximum pleasure, the maximum stimulation. That is how they're going to hit climax. That's how they're going to do all that stuff. So I will say that if your partner is extremely turned on, extremely horny, extremely aroused, it won't take that much time to get there. You don't have to go like 20 minutes unbroken to get there. Usually the level of their arousal, their psychological stimulation, will determine how long that kind of trajectory is. So really definitely focus more on psychological stimulation than physical, but your goal with physical stimulation during sex is to kind of go as long as you can without breaking the flow, without changing too many things. You really want to let these things play out. If you think about it in terms of how you masturbate, just as an example, when you masturbate to reach orgasm, it's usually not a bunch of segmented physical stimulation techniques on top of each other. It's usually a constant thing that happens, and as you go, the pleasure increases, stimulation increases, until you hit that tipping point, which is your orgasm. So sex works the same way as masturbation. Who would have thought, right? So a constant flow of that physical stimulation is going to be your best bet at providing a great sexual experience and making sure that it feels good physically and you're not ruining the sex based on your physical performance if your mental performance is there already. So at the end of this video, I will reiterate one more time that the most important factor is psychological stimulation, but sex would not happen without a physical component. So I had to go over it basically for you guys, just kind of briefly, the overview of what you need to do. That is just don't break the flow of stimulation. It should be a continuous thing. Within reason, there can be position changes and stuff like that, but you want to kind of keep a continuous flow, and that's how you do it. That's all there is to it. It's pretty simple. You don't have to think about a bunch of crazy things. You don't have to get in your head thinking that you have to do this certain technique and all this kind of stuff, which is just kind of pulling you out of the experience and making it worse for you if you have to worry about all these things that you have to do during sex. Just worry about staying consistent, and then also worry about turning your partner on and keeping them aroused mentally. That's all you have to worry about, and that's not much. Then you can just kind of enjoy yourself and have fun having sex, because that's what it should be. It shouldn't be this kind of chore where you're trying all these crazy things to please your partner, when it's as simple as that. Mind, and then constant flow, and then you're good. Alright, so if you like that video and you feel like you learned something, go ahead and subscribe. It helps me out. Leave me a like, leave me a comment. I will respond to as many as I can. You can ask me questions down there and I will answer them. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye, guys.